They got caught. Not in some small, easy to explain away kind of way. Not in a way they can spin. Not in a way they can laugh off or blame on a misunderstanding or reframe with one of their carefully rehearsed little speeches. They got caught completely, publicly, undeniably. And the reason, the only reason, any of it came apart at all is because you finally opened your mouth and told the truth. That's what I need to talk to you about today. Because what just happened, what you just survived, what you just did, most people will never in their entire lives find the courage to do what you did. And I don't think you fully understand yet what it cost you or what it's about to give you back. Stay with me. Because by the time this is over, you are going to see yourself in a completely different light. And the people who try to bury you in their lies, they already do. Let me tell you something about the kind of person who builds a web of lies. They don't start big. They never do. It starts with something small. One little thread. One story that doesn't quite add up, but it's small enough that you give them the benefit of the doubt. Because that's what you do. That is who you are. You give people the benefit of the doubt because you know what it feels like to be misunderstood, and you don't want to do that to someone else. So you let the small thing go. And then there's another thread. Slightly bigger this time, slightly harder to ignore. But by then, you're already tangled in the first one, and somehow, they make you feel like noticing the second thread makes you the problem. Like your ability to see clearly is actually a character flaw. Like your gut feeling is just anxiety. Like your instincts are just insecurity. And that's the trap. That is the real trap, not the lies themselves. The trap is the way they made you doubt the part of you that could see the lies. Think about how long you carried that. Think about how many conversations you replayed in your head at 2 a.m. How many times you talked yourself out of what you clearly saw with your own eyes. How many times you said, maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe I'm being too sensitive. Maybe this is my issue, not theirs. That exhaustion you feel right now, that bone-deep, soul-level tiredness, that's not weakness. That is what it costs to hold someone else's lies inside your body for that long. And I need you to hear that. Really hear it. You were not confused. You were not crazy. You were not the problem. You were simply carrying the weight of a truth that someone else was too cowardly to admit. And you carried it alone. For so long. Until you couldn't anymore. There was a moment, wasn't there? A specific moment. Not the first time you felt something was wrong. You'd felt that for a long time. But one particular moment where something inside you just clicked, like a lock turning. Maybe it was something they said that contradicted something they'd said 3 months ago. Maybe it was a look on their face when they thought you weren't watching. Maybe it was the way their story shifted just slightly, just enough, when you asked one question they weren't prepared for. Whatever it was, in that moment, you stopped asking yourself, am I imagining this? And you started asking a very different question. How long has this actually been going on? And the answer that came back was, a long time, a very long time. And the thing about finally seeing the full picture, after so long seeing only pieces, is that it doesn't feel like relief. Not at first. It feels like grief. It feels like standing in the middle of a room you thought you knew and realizing every single thing in it was placed there deliberately to make you believe something that was never real. The relationship? Real? No. The version of them you trusted. Real? No. The story they told everyone about you. Based in reality? Absolutely not. And you had to stand there in the middle of all of that and decide what to do next. Most people freeze at that point. Most people retreat. Most people convince themselves that the truth isn't worth the cost of saying it out loud. But you are not most people. And I think you already knew what was coming even before you opened your mouth. You knew the moment you spoke, nothing would ever be the same. You said it anyway. That is the moment I want to talk about. Because that moment, that specific act of courage, is the reason everything you're about to receive is already in motion. Let me be real with you for a second. Because I think sometimes in these messages we talk about courage and truth-telling and speaking up like it's this clean, cinematic thing. Like you stood up and said your truth and the music swelled and everyone nodded and the villain crumbled immediately. That's not what happened. What actually happened was messier than that. What actually happened is that you woke up on the day you decided to speak and your hands were probably shaking. Your chest was probably tight. There was probably a voice in the back of your head running through every possible worst-case scenario. What if nobody believes me? What if I look crazy? What if they turn this around on me? What if I lose people I care about over this? And every single one of those fears was legitimate. Because those things did happen. Some of them, at least. People did take sides. Some of them chose wrong. Some of the people you thought would stand with you went quiet. Some of them went in the opposite direction entirely. And you had to stand there and watch that happen. Without flinching, without backing down, without taking it back just to make the discomfort stop. Do you understand how rare that is? I need you to actually let that in for a second instead of moving past it the way you always move past the hard things you survive. You chose the truth when the lie would have been so much easier, when the lie would have kept the peace, when the lie would have let you stay comfortable and safe and unchallenged. You chose the truth when it cost you something. And that specific quality is something that cannot be manufactured. It cannot be performed. You either have it or you don't. You have it. You always had it. And the people who were running the web of lies, they knew that about you. They knew it from the beginning. That's actually why they targeted you in the first place. Because people who build webs of lies are not randomly cruel. They are strategic. They pick people who are close enough to the truth to be a threat. People who are perceptive enough to eventually see through the layers. People whose word means something. Because if those people speak, people will actually listen. They didn't come after you because you were weak. They came after you because they knew that if you ever figured it out and decided to say something, it would actually land. They were right. It landed. Now here is the part I need you to pay very close attention to. Because what I'm about to tell you is not what most people expect to hear about the aftermath of this kind of truth-telling. And it changes everything about how you see what just happened. Stay with me. A web of lies is not just a collection of untrue things someone said. It's a structure. It's a living, breathing architecture that requires constant maintenance. Every lie needs at least 2 more lies to support it. Every false story needs consistent reinforcement. Every version of events that didn't actually happen needs to be told the same way, every time, to every person, without slipping. And that takes energy, an enormous, exhausting, all-consuming amount of energy, which means the person running the web, the person who built it, is never actually free. They are trapped inside their own construction. Every single day, they wake up and they have to go back to work, maintaining the fiction. Every conversation is a performance. Every relationship is a management problem. Every person in their life is someone who needs to be kept believing the right version of the story. That is not a life. That is a prison. And the most dangerous thing in the world to a person living in that prison? Someone who refuses to be managed. That was you. You were the one variable they couldn't control. The one person in the room who kept asking questions that didn't have clean answers. The one presence that made the whole structure feel unstable just by being in it. And so they tried to manage you differently. They tried to make you doubt yourself. They tried to isolate you from people who might confirm what you were seeing. They tried to rewrite your own experiences back to you so that your memory of events started matching their narrative instead of reality. There's actually a name for that. And I think some of you watching right now have already figured out what it is. This wasn't just lying. This was a systematic attempt to dismantle your ability to trust your own perception. And it almost worked. Almost. Because even at their most convincing, even when you were most deep in the fog of it, something in you held on. Some small, stubborn, undeniable part of you kept saying, "This is not right. I know what I know. I know what I saw. I know what I felt." And no amount of reframing is going to make me forget that. That part of you? That's the part that saved you. That's the part they could never reach. And then you spoke. You didn't yell. You didn't perform. You didn't walk into the room with a speech prepared and music playing. You just told the truth, plainly, clearly, without embellishment. You said what happened. You said what you saw. You said what you know. And something extraordinary happened. The web shook. Not because you were louder than them. Not because you had more power than them. Not because you had some perfectly crafted argument that dismantled every lie one by one. It shook because truth doesn't need to dismantle a lie piece by piece. Truth just needs to enter the room. That's it. That's all it takes. Because the entire structure, every thread, every layer, every carefully constructed piece of the web, it was always held together by one thing and one thing only. Everyone in the room choosing to keep pretending. And the second you stopped pretending, the second you said out loud the thing everyone had been silently feeling, but not one single person had been brave enough to name, the whole structure lost its only support. Watch how fast it fell. Watch how fast the person who built it, the person who had everyone convinced they were untouchable, that their story was airtight, that no one would ever believe anything different. Watch how fast they went from controlled and composed to visibly unraveling. Because here's what they forgot. Here's what every single person who builds their life on lies eventually forgets. You cannot maintain a performance when someone in the audience starts narrating what's actually happening. You broke the fourth wall. You turned to the audience and said, "Do you see what I see?" And they did. They saw it. They had always seen it. They'd been waiting, quietly, uncomfortably, for someone to be brave enough to say it first. You were that person. And now, Thi Hei Er E Bjusted. Not because karma found them in some abstract cosmic way, because you happened to them. You specifically. Your voice, your courage, your refusal to keep participating in a fiction that was slowly erasing you. That's not a small thing. That's the whole thing. Now, I want to talk to you about where you are right now, because I know this moment doesn't feel the way you thought it would. I know some part of you imagined that when the truth finally came out, when everyone finally saw what you'd been seeing, there would be this rush of relief, this wave of vindication, This moment where people lined up to tell you they were sorry for doubting you. And some of that happened, but some of it didn't. Some people are angry at you. And I know how confusing that feels. To be angry at the person who told the truth instead of the person who told the lies. But I need you to understand something about those people. Their anger at you is not really about you. Their anger is about themselves. Because when you exposed the web of lies, you didn't just expose the person who built it. You exposed everyone who had been living comfortably inside it. You showed them their own choices, their own moments of choosing comfort over truth, their own silent complicity, their own decision to look the other way because looking away was easier than dealing with what they'd actually seen. And nobody wants to look at that about themselves. So they aim the discomfort at you instead. Let them. Let them be angry. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them wrestle with what your honesty uncovered in them. That is their work to do, not yours. Your work is already done. You said what needed to be said. You stood in what you knew when standing in it cost you something real. And you are still here, still standing, still whole. Actually, not just whole, more whole than before. Because you are no longer carrying something that was never yours to carry. That weight you've been dragging, their lies, their narrative about who you are, their carefully constructed version of events designed to keep you small and manageable and afraid of your own perception. You put it down. You walked away from it. And your body knows it. Your nervous system knows it. Something in you is already exhaling in a way it hasn't been able to exhale in a very long time. That's not just emotional relief. That's your spirit reclaiming the space that was taken from it. I want you to hear me very clearly right now. The person you were before all of this, before the web, before the lies, before the long, exhausting season of doubting your own eyes, that person was already remarkable, already strong, already worthy of everything good. But that person didn't know it yet. Not fully. Not in the unshakable, nothing can touch this kind of way. The person standing on the other side of this, the one who went through all of it, who carried the truth alone, who was gaslit and isolated and made to feel like their clarity was a character flaw, and came out the other side with their perception intact, their voice intact, their sense of self intact, that person is something to witness. That person has been forged by something most people never survive with their spirits still intact. And I need you to stop minimizing that. Stop moving on from it so quickly. Stop already asking what's next and sit in what just happened for a moment. You just did something that most people only wish they had the courage to do. You chose reality over comfort, truth over peace, yourself over the performance they needed you to keep giving. And the web is gone. Do you understand that? The web that took them so long to build, that had so many people fooled for so long, it's gone. And the reason it's gone is you. Your voice did that. Your truth did that. One person, one decision, one moment of refusing to stay quiet. And now they are busted. And now the people who were watching, the ones who matter, they know exactly who you are. Not the version the web of lies was trying to sell them. The real version. The one who sees clearly. The one who holds on to truth even when it costs them. The one who speaks even when their voice is shaking. That is who they see now. And that person, that version of you standing right here, right now, is not someone you need to defend, not someone you need to explain, not someone you need to prove anything to anyone about. That person speaks for themselves, and they already did. Here is what I know about people who go through exactly what you just went through. They don't go back. Not to that version of themselves. Not to that level of tolerance for being lied to. Not to that willingness to shrink and explain and apologize for seeing what they saw. Something shifts permanently. Because once you've spoken your truth in a room that was not ready for it, once you've stood in the discomfort of being the person who said the thing, once you've watched the web collapse and discovered that you survived the collapse, you know something now that you cannot unknow. You know what your voice is capable of. You know what your truth carries. You know that the silence was never keeping you safe. It was just keeping them comfortable. And you are done with that. Done keeping people comfortable at the cost of your own reality. Done carrying their lies because the truth felt too heavy to lift. Done pretending that the performance they needed from you was acceptable in exchange for whatever they were offering. You are building something different now. Something real. Built on the only foundation that actually holds. Not other people's stories about who you are, not the version of yourself that was manageable and quiet and easy to control. Your truth, your perception, your clarity, your voice. The version of you that looked at a room full of people invested in a lie and said, clearly, calmly, without breaking, I know what happened. And I'm not going to pretend anymore. That is a crown, not the decorative kind, not the kind you wear to be seen, the kind that is forged, the kind that gets earned through the specific fire of being disbelieved and continuing to believe yourself anyway. They cannot take that from you. Nobody can, because it's not something they gave you. It's something you built, quietly, stubbornly, through every moment you chose not to surrender to the fiction they were running. And it is yours. It has always been yours. You just had to survive long enough to claim it. I want to say one more thing before I let you go. The people who are angry right now, let them be angry. The people who chose the wrong side, let them sit with that. The ones who are scrambling to explain themselves, to spin what happened, to find a new version of the story that lets them off the hook. Let them scramble. That is not your work anymore. Your work right now is to rest, to breathe, to let your nervous system finally understand that the thing you were bracing for, the exposure, the confrontation, the moment of truth, it happened. And you made it through. You made it through. And on the other side of that, in this space you're standing in right now, something new is available to you. Something that wasn't available when you were tangled in the web. Real connection. With people who meet you in truth, not in performance. Real peace. The kind that doesn't require you to monitor your own words or manage anyone else's perception of you. Real freedom. To say what you see. To trust what you know. To be exactly who you are without editing yourself into someone more convenient. That is what your truth bought you. Not just the exposure of their lies. Your own liberation. So take this with you. You are not the person they said you were. You are not the problem they needed you to be. You are not someone whose perception can be dismantled no matter how carefully they tried. You are the person who stood in the middle of a carefully constructed fiction and refused to play your part. You are the person who chose reality when the lie was easier. You are the person whose voice brought an entire web of lies to the ground. They're busted because of you, because of your courage, because of your truth. Don't forget that, ever. I love you. Be safe. Take care of yourself. You earned the peace you're walking into right now.